Alrighty, so it's a day after the first midweek action that we see in MLS this season, and I'm actually kind of glad I decided to not do the review after I come back from the Quakes versus Austin game because first of all, I got home like around 11 o'clock, and I still had to put all the notes on. So if I did all of that, and not to mention, did I mention this is going to be a mega long review? Since there's going to be 11 games, there's no point in terms of splitting the review into two parts. We might as well just make this a movie, and it feels like in some of these MLS games that was kind of the case. I mean, I've said this before, where in the past we have seen midweek games that have just completely gone off the rails, and some might say that it's because Don Gabbard and the script writer of MLS just trying to make you force you to watch midweek action when that's something that not a lot of people tends to do. But I think the reality of why some of these midweek games have just gone completely off the rails is because you have some teams that have fatigue factor, especially playing a lot of games with some of these teams that have played pretty much uh 3 games in 7 days in the past week or so, and that is really the first time they have to deal with this. And not to mention rotation also cause that as well. You might have teams that decide to rotate, may play a weaker kind of team, especially at the back, and then next thing you know, just chaos reigns supreme in some of these games, especially these 7:30 games. I mean, when you look at this first board, I mean, it is nothing but chaos when we saw some of the score lines that happened in these first 4 games. So with that being said, let us dig in straight away. But first talk about the game that I gotta say, out of these 4 games that are so chaotic, I think this one is probably the least surprising because I think we all knew that a Toronto FC game was gonna be chaotic. Ever since this 9 game home stretch has started for TFC, it's been nothing but chaos with every single game that they have. Every single game, there's always some crazy thing that has happened, and I guess in this one, add goalkeeping goals scored in the last second of the game to the latest chaos that we always see with TFC game. Now, in the first half, the post would deny Westfield on the free kick. Lukic would then puts it over from long range. The Union was actually the better team, at least early in this one. They were looking for the opener. Westfield would then puts it into the side netting on the free kick before Cefuentes puts it high, as that was TFC first shot. As I thought Toronto started woke up a bit. I mean, this was a bit of a slow start, which is something we don't usually see with this team. This team actually have done pretty well for the most part in this 9 game home stretch to start on time. This was not one of them. And as we fast forward into the 4th minute stoppage time, Iloski would score from Lukic to make it 1-0 in favor of the Union. If I'm not mistaken, that's only the second open play goal that Milan Iloski has scored. Yeah, it's been a rough season for Iloski. It's been rough for him ever since he's been joining the Union. He still has not looked like the same player that he was when he burst into the scene with San Diego. But he did score here, and as I said, that gives the Union a 1-0 lead. Kerr did look to respond, but he missed one in the 7 minute stoppage time, and we do head to halftime with Philly leading 1-0. They didn't waste long to make it 2-0, as in the 52nd minute, John Jack would score to make it 2-0 in favor of the Union. That 2 goal lead was short lived because just 4 minutes later, Jar Sargent would score for Shari and Cefuntes to make it 2-1 in favor of the Union, and that was more like it for Jar Sargent. Jar Sargent has had his issue when it comes to his finishing. Some might blame the fact that it's because he's still trying to get himself back to match fitness, but we're kind of getting to that stage that he's got to show some resort. He's got to bury these chances that we always see him do with Norwich City, and this was an example of it. And in previous game, he wouldn't finish the chances, but this time he finally buries it. And if you're a Toronto fan, you're hoping this is the first of many, and also maybe he has now finally break out of his duck in terms of his poor finishing in front of goal. Showery then looked for another, but he puts it wide in the 58th minute, and just like that, momentum was with Toronto FC. So anytime when there's a crazy game, momentum is going to be swinging left and right like a pendulum, and this was one of them as they were now pushing hard to try to get the equalizer. Galvran would then deny Diamani from close, but then the 64th minute, Kobe Franklin would score for the second consecutive game from Cefuntes to tie the game up at 2 apiece, and it came off the post and in one of those ones that no goalkeeper in the world is gonna save that. So just like that, it is all tied up at 2 apiece. So about 12 minutes ago, the Union they looked like they were on verge of a big road win, and now all of a sudden it's 2-2 in this game because again, that's how Toronto FC game is. Nothing makes sense in TFC game. No leads is safe when it comes to a game that's involving Toronto FC. And then they look like they took the lead in the 82nd minute when Showery puts it into the back of the net. Problem was, the flag did not agree with him, so the goal was disallowed for offside. Gavron would then deny Surrey lost from close, but then in the 89th minute, Nathan Harrio would score from Bedoya and Bueno. They gave this to Bedoya, though. This one is kind of hard if you're a scorekeeper because it looked like both Harrio and Bedoya hits this one at the same time. So you just kind of have to give it a 50-50. I would have thought that they give it to Bedoya since he hasn't scored a lot of goals. I mean, Nathan Harry has already got a goal this season, so why not just give it to Bedoya instead of just giving him the primary assist? But still, Union fans wouldn't care because they were leading again here, 3-2. But as I said, no leads is safe in a TFC game, and chaos is the name of the game whenever we get to the last 10 minutes of a TFC game. And guess what? In the 6 minute stoppage time, Luke Galvan would score the equalizing goal because of course that has to happen. Of course, of all the games that I would have thought maybe a goalkeeper was going to score a goal, especially a last minute equalizer, I feel like it's going to be a Toronto FC game. So he scored here from Cuello and Sherry to make it 3-3 in this one. What's kind of interesting is the fact that this wasn't actually coming from a corner. Usually you see a goalkeeper score maybe from a corner. This was just kind of a recycle play. I mean, Galvan was actually kind of started to head back thinking that the full-time whistle was blown, but then he just kind of head forward again, and he basically was there to meet the header to put this one in. So, yeah. Pete MLS After Dark has definitely reached in this moment, as in the end, it ends in a free draw in this one. As shocking as this goal is, and as much as everybody are saying that, man, this is probably the craziest game we have ever seen. I would say so, but if you haven't watched Toronto FC game this season, I mean, you know that meme with Einstein basically holding up and say absolute cinema. That's pretty much Toronto FC game doing this 9 game home stretch. Every single game is just off the rails and makes no sense whatsoever. And this is just kind of the latest chapter of this as well. Shots in this one: 14 shots for the 10 that Toronto has, 4 shots on goal for the 5 that the Union has. Both team had 3 shots off target. Both team had 4 shots on his block and possession-wise, 62% possession compared to 38% possession the Union has in this game. And yet, this game, on most week, this would be the craziest game of this week. But as I said, chaos reigns supreme in terms of this midweek game, and this wasn't even the highest scoring game that we saw as well. But before we get to these two crazy games, let's talk about another resort that may sound like a surprising factor to you, but this is what I was talking about with Charlotte. And normally I don't I always are kind of a guy that say, as much as I do make some bold hot takes before, and maybe I might be a little bit harsh on Charlotte, and certainly Charlotte fans might agree with me there. The fact that I've been kind of calling them frauds and kind of calling them a pretender despite how high up in the standings. Well, this game just kind of shows you why I thought that they were considered a pretender, because here coming into this game, and I know they were kind of starting a bit of a rotated roster, Charlotte, though they did have Zaha in this one as well. But yeah, I mean, in this game, going on the road against an Orlando City team that looks dead and buried this season for the most part, and yet somehow in this game, Orlando City looked like they were back to their old self in this game for once. In the first half, Aloko would then puts it high from long range, as that was the game's first shot. Ojeda would miss wide from close. As that was Orlando's first shot as well. Or actually, I'm sorry, that's not Orlando first shot. That was actually Orlando's second shot of the game. But yeah, there not much chances really created early in this one. The shots were only 2-1, 17 minutes in. Westwood would then puts it high on the curler, but then in the 21st minute, Orlando takes the lead. It's Octavio. He scored his first career MLS goal from Taifi to make it 1-0 in favor of Orlando City. And while it was a great there from Otavio to score his first career MLS goal, you kind of had to question Kalina there. I mean, he just basically watched this one in. In fact, this won't be the only time that has happened. It was a nightmare night for Christian Kalina. This was probably one of the worst games that he had played in a Charlotte FC uniform. Bio did look to respond, but he missed wide from close. Crepeau would then deny Alonco from close, as Charlotte responded well, looking to try to get the equalizer. And they do, as not Patrick Ajiman, but Morrison Ajiman would score here from Bio. And by the way, I know I said this before, no relation to Patrick as well. This is not the brother of Patrick Ajuman. These are two separate players that just happen to have the last name Ajuman. That is, and he scored here from Pepiel to make it 1-1 in this one. It's also the first career MLS goal for Morrison at Ajuman as well. Not quite sure if he's gonna score as much as what Patrick Ajuman did because both of them don't play in the same position as well. Morrison at Ajuman is more known as a defender. Taifi did look to answer, but he hits it right to Kalina. Ajiman would then hit it wide from the corner in the 44th minute. But we do head to halftime with the score tied up at one apiece, and you're thinking, well, this looks like a competent game, isn't it? I mean, this looks like a game where maybe Charlotte will eventually show that strength that they had in the second half because Orlando they have nothing but misery so far. But you would be more wrong as we head into the second half because in the 49th minute, Martino Ojeda, again, it's been a rough season so far for Martino Ojeda, but he looked like his old self in this one. He scored from Alice and Thiago to make it 2-1 in this one. Alonso did look to respond, but he hits the side netting before Angulo would miss wide from close in the 55th minute, but then the 61st minute, Ojeda would score again. And again, this is one that for Christian Kalina, his nightmare night just continued. He just caught cheating too much to the left. He leans toward the left. Ojeda saw that perfectly, so he sneaked one past the wall there into the right, and just like that, it's 3-1 in favor of Orlando. And I'm pretty sure if you're an Orlando City fan, you're thinking, what is going on? I mean, how in the world did this team start to become good and look like the 2024 version of Orlando City all over again? Thiago then looked for four, but he hits it right to Kalina. And I even said this is by far the best that Orlando has. It doesn't even look like an Orlando City team that is in the midst of a meltdown right now. And I thought they might not be done. They might look for more here. Laco would then try to respond, but he hits it right to Crepeau before we have here where Goodwin hits one right to Crepeau in the 81st minute. But then the 87th minute, Gomez would score his first career MLS goal from Angulo to make it 4-1 in favor of Orlando. So this was definitely a night of first career MLS goal. We saw Charlotte have a player score their first career MLS goal. Now Orlando had a player that scored for his career MLS goal as well. And that can happen when you know a lot of these teams are rotating their team and start to promote some of their MLS Next Pro player just to give some of their starters a bit of a breather in the midst of the fast and furious MLS action that we've seen in the past couple of weeks. So yeah, in the end, Orlando City, this one, I don't think a lot of people saw this coming with Orlando winning 4-1 in this one. The shots in this one, 16 shots for the 12 that Orlando has, 6 shots on goal compared to the 5 that Charlotte has, 5 shots off target compared to 3 that Orlando has, 1 shot was blocked compared to the 5 that Charlotte has, and possession-wise, 54% possession compared to 46% possession that Orlando has in this game. And while the stats were relatively even, Orlando was just the more clinical side in this one. And now we'll see whether or not if this might be a turning point. When you're a team that is going through a free fall as Orlando City has gone this season and really kind of continue from the previous season as well, you just need a big win. You just need a win to not only stop the bleeding but really kickstart of the season, and maybe this might be the win that they needed for Orlando City to not only didn't give up a lot of goals like they usually do, but they actually score as well. Which the reason why Orlando City has been so bad this season is they can't defend or score at the same time. They suck at both things, so no wonder why they are where they are in the standings. But for once, this Orlando City side looked like their old self in this one, and for Charlotte, like I said, there's a reason why I call this team a fraud because this kind of the performance that makes me think that this is a very fraudulent team, and this is not the first time I've seen Charlotte go into a game where they face against a team that they should be easy 3 points, and they walk away with not getting that, and not only not walk away with that, but not even getting a point out of this game and put it back and give up 4 goals to Orlando City. Like if you give up 4 goals against Orlando City in the year of 2026, especially for a team that's been down in the dumpster, yeah, this is a team that not only is fraudulent, but maybe you don't deserve to make it to the playoffs. That is. Now, moving on in terms of the next game, and now let's get to the chaotic game. I mean, these two games, I would have never thought that we had fireworks in New York City. I mean, last I checked, it wasn't 4th of July yet. Yeah, we haven't seen the Macy 4th of July fireworks show like we usually see every year, but it definitely came early in this one because these two New York teams definitely put a show in terms of the definition of chaos. Austin midweek action. So we start off with the Atlantic Cup between the Red Bulls and DC United. This might be the most craziest Atlantic Cup we have ever seen, or at least seen in quite some while as well. Because I mean, and there are some good moments we have seen in the past in the Atlantic Cup, some late winners and unexpected the resort. But this was a game where, yeah, defense was kind of just a thing that just exists, and it feels like at times I was watching an Ultimate Team match rather than an actual MLS game. In the first half, immediately it looked like we were 1-0 thing up, or immediately looked like 1-0 was DC United up in this game, but the flag did not agree with him there, so the goal was disallowed. Herrera would then puts it high from long range. DC I thought started well in this Atlantic Cup. They looked to try to get the opener. Frostberg would then hits it right to Johnson, as that was the Red Bulls' first shot. But then on the second shot of the game, Red Bulls would score as Julian Hall continued his goal scoring prowess. He scored from Dunkor and Mehmeti to make it 1-0 in favor of the Red Bulls. And Dunkor, of course, got the assist here. He says, I want to score too, because just 6 minutes later, he would score to make it 2-0 in favor of the Red Bulls. And it also came off of a fortunate deflection as well. It falls right into the path of Ronald Dunkor. And while it definitely took a fortunate deflection, you got to question the defending there from DC United. I mean, leaving Dunkor wide open from the 6-yard box, that's definitely a choice. But then again, like I said, this game defense was not a thing. So this is not a surprise that was the case. 2-0. Oh, the Red Bulls up to this point. Rivakova then looked for free, but he missed wide there. It's been all Red Bulls since they took the lead, and now they look to try to get more. However, in the 37th minute, DC does get one back as Ty Baribo has scored from Hopkins and Hefty to tie the or not tie the game, but pull with him one in this one. A little ahead of myself here, that is. And it was kind of against the run of play because up to this point, DC looked like they were reeling up to this point, and it feels like, well, this is your typical kind of predictable DC game where they're just gonna fold in this one. Hopkins would then look for another, but he missed wide there before Baribo would miss an absolute free header from close range. Baribo looked like his old self in this one. He was really up for it, though. That is definitely one that Baribo want to have back. I mean, you do not see that this happened with Ty Baribo. Maybe this is because of the fact that he isn't confident. But then again, I say that, but he's just scored like 6 minutes ago. So yeah, there was no doubt that he definitely want to have that one back. That should have been his brace. But there was no doubt that DC shows some fight. They're trying to press to get the equalizer. But we do head to halftime with the Red Bulls leading 2-1. In the second half, Cervania would put it wide from close range, but then just 1 minute later, Ruvakoba would score from Frostberg and Mosquera to make it 3-1 in favor of the Red Bulls. What a difference it's made for Jorge Ruvakoba, the fact that he finally scored his first career MLS goal. Get that monkey off the back, and you started to see the resort that this is kind of what the Red Bulls were hoping for their DP winger. But that 2-goal lead once again was short lived because Jackson Hopkins would score from Paglo and Patola to make it 3-2 in this one, and then 5 minutes later, Ty Baribo would score his brace. So in a span of just 7 minutes, we went from a game where it was 2-1 in favor of the New York Red Bulls to now being a free game. And this is when I thought, yep, defense is not a thing. What is defending? Because then it doesn't feel like both of these teams were defending in this one. It feels like defense didn't realize that there was a midweek game and they decided to just kind of step aside in this one. Peglo would then puts it wide from long range in the 68th minute before Horvat denied Hopkins from close in the 68th. Momentum right back to DC now because, like I said, when you have a chaos game like this, the momentum just kind of swing back and forth in this one. However, in the 71st minute, Ruvakova would restore the lead for the Red Bulls. So he scored from Dunkor and Horvat to make it 4-3 in favor of the Red Bulls. And just how I said it was kind of against the run of plays when DC scored, well, the Red Bulls now score against the run of plays they too as well, and it also came off of a lightning counterattack as well. Horvat immediately plays that one to Dunkor, and Dunkor plays it to Ruvakova, and yeah, there was definitely some optional defending there when Ruvakova strike that one, but nevertheless, it was 4-3 up to this point. Paglo did try to tie it up, but he missed out on the header. But then the 80th minute, it was tied up at 4 because, like I said, defense not a thing. I mean, if you thought that was the winning goal of the game, you would be a fool because of the way that there was no defense being played. You knew there was going to be another goal in this one, and there was. As Barimo would complete his hat trick from Hefty and Clark to tie the game up at four apiece, as defense continued to be non-existent in this one. On the other end, Johnson would rob Choupo-Moting and what looked like was the fifth goal for the New York Red Bulls. But then on the other end, it looked like DC got themselves the fifth goal of the game. But for the second time tonight, their goal was chopped off. This time there was a foul in the box here that chopped off the fifth goal of the game. But yeah, in the end, all that was told. 4-4 is the final score of this game. I mean, this was just I think out of all these games, and I know this game was kind of chaotic as well, but I feel like this was probably the most chaotic one because it was just back and forth and just his defense was not a thing whatsoever, and there probably would have been more goals if it wasn't for the disallowed goal. Have DC actually scored those goals that wasn't disallowed? This would have been 6-4 in favor of DC United. And believe it or not, DC has actually won 6-4 ones. I believe this was all the way back, what, 2012, 2013, when they had a game play at the old RFK Stadium. They won 6-4 against Real Salt Lake. So, yeah, at least it won't be the first time that DC actually have won in a 10-goal thriller. But, yeah, nevertheless, just an absolute crazy game that we saw in the Atlantic Cup. The shots in this one, 14 shots for the 13 that the Red Bulls had. Both teams had 5 shots on goal, 2 shots off target with the 6 that DC had, 3 shots that was blocked with the 6 that the Red Bulls had, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that DC has in this game. And now we move on to the Bronx, and I'm pretty sure the Red Bulls or NYCFC saw what the Red Bulls did to DC United, and they're just to say, oh my beer, we can also draw 4-4 in the game as well. Though, unlike this one where it was a seesaw affair, this game, NYCFC, they would be absolutely kicking themselves that they somehow dropped 2 points. This was an epic meltdown for NYCFC late in this one. But at the same time, you could also say that this feels like a typical FC Cincinnati game because, as I mentioned, Toronto feels like they are the kings of chaos in the last couple of weeks. Yeah, don't forget about FC Cincinnati as well. I mean, I've always said that Cincinnati has show a lot of effort in terms of some of their games, even though we know their defense has been bad throughout the season, and it's kind of the case again. I mean, they show some great effort in this one, but it was also a combination of that, and NYCFC just kind of hit the self destruction button as we head into stoppage time. In the first half, Buka would put one over from long range as that was the game's first shot. O'Toole would then hits it right to Saotano. He then denied Wolf from close in the 12th minute. NYCFC definitely was the better side up to this point. They were pressing to get the opener, and they do as Fernandez Markel to give NYCFC a 1-0 lead. He can definitely thank Saotano for this because he spilled an easy catch there. Gave up the rebound, and Fernandez Markel was in the right place, right time to punish him. So just like that, NYCFC was leading 1-0, but that lead would only last 12 minutes because Kevin Denke would score from Echenike and Smith to tie the game up at 1 apiece. So Denke, of course, on his return after getting a red card and suspended in the last game. It was definitely a great volley finish there from Kevin Denke. There was no marking whatsoever there in the box. So yeah, I mean, you would have assumed that I mean, with the way that Denke, even though he has had his problem with finishing at least this season, you would assume they at least should still mark him, right? I mean, you can't leave Denke wide open like that and not get punished as a result. So yeah, the game was tied up at 1 apiece. It only stayed tied for 3 minutes because Fernandez Markel would score again. He scored from Morales and Gray to give NYCFC the lead back. Ojeda then looked for another for NYCFC, but he missed wide there. And then on the other end, Evander would have a shot that was deflected wide. So you started to see this game started to go off the rails again because it was a bit back and forth. Morales would then miss wide from long range. Both of the teams would definitely exchange chances, and it feels like defense seems like it's not a thing in this game either. It feels like we're going to be in for a wild game as well as we head to halftime with NYCFC leading 2-1 in this one. In the second half, Saotano denied Ojeda from close. Wolf then hits it right to Saotano in the 49th minute. NYCFC once again started bright. They were trying to get the third goal off this game, and they do, as Augustine Ojeda would score from O'Neal and Wolf to make it 3-1 in favor of NYCFC. Evander looked like he got one back for Cincinnati, but the goal was disallowed because there was a foul on the development of play. But ultimately, they do get one back Cincinnati in the 65th minute as Denke scores again, this time from Valenzuela to make it 3-2 in this one. And then it was almost 3-3 when Valenzuela was in on goal, but he hits it right to freeze. And just like that, momentum swing right back to Cincinnati. Now they look like they're trying to get the equalizer. However, as I said that, Talis Magno would score from Ojeda and O'Neal against the run of play to restore the 2-goal lead for NYCFC. And while it was a great curling shot for Magno, no marking whatsoever in the box. Again, that can happen when defense is not not really a thing in this one. Park then trying to make it 5, but he hits it right to Saotano. Valenzuela would then miss high from long range before Freeze denied Evander from close. Mbema Dam then puts it wide from close range. Cincinnati, again, this is the thing about Pat Nolan's side. They're never going to give up. Like, even when they're down 2 goals, a lot of teams would give up to this point, especially on the road, but not the Cincinnati team. They're pushing hard. They're trying to get one back and make this even more interesting once again. And they do, as Chirilla would score from Buca and Valenzuela to make it 4-3 in favor of NYCFC. I believe that's Chirilo's first career MLS goal as well. And then before we even had a chance by saying that, well, now Cincinnati is in business, they won themselves a penalty as Evander was brought down by O2 in the box. So here comes Evander, a chance to make this a 4-4 game, just like what we saw in the Atlantic Cup. And he does. So yeah, 4 apiece up to this point. Almost was 5-4 just a couple of minutes later as Gustavo looked to answer, but he hits it wide from the corner, and the boos were definitely coming out at the full-time whistle at Yankee Stadium. So as much as this was just a crazy game, just like this one, and in some way this one as well, and if you're a neutral, you must be uh absolutely delighted from seeing these games, or maybe even over the moon seeing all these goals that's being scored. You can't say the same with either of these fan base, or especially NYCFC fans. I mean, they were booing hard late in this one, and rightfully so. I mean, this was an epic collapse by NYCFC, but also a culmination of once again FC Cincinnati showing that never say die mentality. The shots in this one, 17 shots for both of these teams, 9 shots on goal for the 6 that Cincinnati has, 3 shots off target with a 5 that NYCFC had. Both teams had 3 shots on block, and possession wise, 51% possession compared to the 49% possession that Cincinnati has in this game. And like I said, for NYCFC, the struggle continues for them. This latest collapse is an example of the run of form that they have been in after that good start that they had. I think ever since that Miami game that they had, this team has kind of gone downhill ever since that, and this is another example of it. And for Cincinnati, I mean, as much as you're very happy if you're a Cincinnati fan to see the team show a lot of fight, it's kind of frustrated the fact that why can't they just do that from minute one? Why do they have to always make it hard on themselves and have to fall behind and trying to always chase the game and try to complete these miracle comebacks week in and week out? I think the answer is probably that defense, that is, or the lack of it from the Cincinnati side. But nevertheless, what a crazy game we saw. What a crazy board that. This is probably the craziest board I've seen in terms of all these scoreline. But with that being said, I am now gonna finally switch board and now actually gonna talk about some normal games for once, because as much as there was some chaotic midweek action, there were a couple of games that were a little low score and we're kind of a little bit of a resembling of what an MLS game sometimes looks like. All right, so as I said, there were actually some games that for once weren't actually high scoring. In fact, on this board, no team actually scored more than 2 goals. That is, and at least some of these games actually had defense. For once that is being played. Though in the next one we're going to talk about, which is Atlanta versus New England, this game could have gone off the rails as well. At least maybe in Atlanta cases where Atlanta, they could have easily done what Orlando did, which is get a much needed win at home to give some confidence. I mean, they were the better team for most part in this one. They actually outshot New England badly in this one as well. But as I said before, when you're a bad team, you're not going to get that luck. You're always going to have things that goes against you, and that's kind of the case for Atlanta in this game against New England. Early on, Sanchez with Atlanta's first shot, but he missed wide there. Langoni would then miss wide from close. The shots were 2-1 for Atlanta early in this one. Yusuf would look like he got the opening goal for New England on the first shot, or on the second shot, that is, that New England has. But they go to VAR to see whether or not if Turgeman was actually in the lines of the shot. And, I don't think Turgeman was meant to be on the line of shot here, but yeah. When I saw that, yeah, I knew that goal was going to come back. I've seen that so many times where even if you don't touch the ball, when you're in the line of shot and you're in the offside position, it's going to always call back. And it's such a shame too, because that was a great goal from Yusuf there, but we stay 0-0 in this game. We did go for a pair where not much really happened. That's probably the first time I've said that in this review. Consider the previous game that we talked about. There's always craziness happen every single minute. But in the 38th minute, Atlanta takes the lead as Fafa Pico would score his first goal for Atlanta United. People forget that he's actually now with Atlanta. He's been kind of well travel as a journeyman in MLS, but he adds Atlanta United as his latest club that he has now scored a goal for, and this is one that Turner would not want to look back. I mean, he just allowed a juicy rebound here and was immediately punished as Fafa Pico was there in the right place, right time to bury that one to give Atlanta a 1-0 lead. Marinchuk did look for another, but he hits it right to Turner. By the way, when that goal was scored by Fafa Pico, it took a while before the train horn was actually at least sounded. So if you ever watch Atlanta United game or watch games at the Bends, you know that whenever Atlanta United score, the train horn, of course, will sound as well. But it took a minute or two before the train horn was sounded. So that just kind of shows you that even the celebration is not up to par for this Atlanta United season, or it's just the fact that they haven't scored a lot of goals this season. So I guess maybe that's the reason why the train horn had to get up to steam to actually sound here. But anyway, Yao would then hits it right to Turner in the fourth minute of stoppage time, but we do head to halftime with Atlanta having a 1-0 lead. It's been a while since we said that with Atlanta getting the lead heading into the second half. But in the second half, Galarza would hit one that was deflected and goes right to Turner. Moronchuk would then have a shot that was deflected wide. Atlanta has started the second half the better side. They were pushing to try to get that second goal. Turner denied me here from the corner. I gotta say, besides that goal that Matt Turner gave up, he actually had a really good game in this one, and it was really one of the big reasons why New England kind of won this one and kind of stole one for the refs in this one. Lobjanidze would then flash one wide from long range, but then the 73rd minute, completely against the run of play, Will Sands would score from Carlos Hill to tie the game up at one apiece. And when that goal went in, Atlanta fans realized that, yeah, they're losing this one because this is just kind of how this season has gone. No matter what they do, whether they play bad or they play good in a week, they'll somehow always end up in the L category. Hoyos would then deny Turgelman from close momentum now with New England. You just kind of feel like it's here we go again for Atlanta, and that's what happened when you're a team that doesn't have a lot of confidence and down in the bottom where as soon as that goal gave up, you can see the heads were immediately dropping for this Atlanta side. Though they did have a chance to retake the lead and probably should have because Lobjanidze was in on goal and he hits it right to Turner, and that's also just kind of some of his season as well. It's been a long time since Saba has scored a goal for Atlanta, and that moment kind of is the reason why it's been a long time because he has just no confidence in front of goal. If you have a confident goal scored, that one would always be Barry, but just no confidence whatsoever. And it comes to be costly too because on the other end, Peyton Miller would score the go ahead goal and what turns out to be the winning goal of this game. And yeah, just the latest gut punch that Atlanta has suffered. They play so well up to this point, and now all of a sudden they trail 2-1 in this one. Morencha looked to answer, but he was denied by Turner. Fortune would then hits it right to Turner in the 88th minute. To Atlanta's credit, they were pressing hard to try to get the equalizer. New England was kind of in road heave mode up to this point, holding on for dear life. Turner denied Brenner from the header. There was a huge shout for a penalty for Atlanta, not given after that. Turner would then deny Latte Laugh from close range. But yeah, in the end, for New England, kind of a smash and grab. Three points as well. Won't be the first time I'll talk about a team getting a smash and grab win on the road as they win 2-1 in this one, despite the fact that they got outshot 23-8 in this one. 23 shots for the 8 that Atlanta has, 9 shots on goal for the 4 that New England has, 1 shot off target for the 6 that Atlanta has, 1 shot off block for the 8 that Atlanta has, and possession wise, 54% possession compared to the 46% possession that Atlanta has in this game. And this is just another classic game where, one team were just more clinical despite just getting completely dominated in this one. But at the same time, you're not surprised the fact that this happened to Atlanta United. I mean, if there is maybe some positive you can take it out of this game, and I think we're kind of getting to the level where I said about Sporting KC showing some good effort, and that might be used as a positive. I think that might be the same with Atlanta too, where if there is definitely positive, one, they at least hold on to the lead for as long as possible and had a lead probably more than they ever had the season besides the one win that they had against the Union, but also the fact that they um they showed up a lot of fight in this one and were by far the better team in this one. It's just the fact that they have those two crucial moments that goes against And yeah, that's kind of expected when you have a team that doesn't have a lot of confidence whatsoever. Though, if you're New England, I mean, you'll just take 3 points. I mean, this was not a great performance whatsoever from Marco Mitrovic's side. I'm pretty sure he let his team know that they can't do this every single game and get away with it. I mean, if this was against a much more competent Eastern Conference team, they probably would have lost this one and not only lose this one, but probably lose this one pretty handily. But because they're playing against Atlanta, who is a team that is dead last right now in the East and just have are just a shell of their old self. Yeah, they kind of just not got away with it in this game. Now, moving on in terms of the next match. Well, what do you know? Another game, another one that San Diego FC wasn't able to finish with 10, 11 men. I thought the last game maybe was a turning point where for once San Diego was actually able to finish with 11 men and didn't go have a red card in the game, but alas, that was only an outlier because it looks like Red Card FC is back in this game. And to be fair, they weren't actually the only one that got a red card in this one. Houston also had a red card in this one, and we had a brief 10v10 play in this game as well. In the first half, Bogusz with the first shot of the game, but he hits it right to Furry. That all start because of a bad turnover from San Diego after playing out of the back. I think you have heard this story before with San Diego. In fact, you probably have heard this story over and over again because that has been one of the biggest reasons why they're on this winless run and are going through the toughest part of the stretch that this team has had in their 2 year of existence, and the fact that they always get red cards every single game. That is. In the 25th minute, Tverskov would heads it wide from close range. The shots were two apiece 36 minutes in, but then in the 35th minute, Houston would take the lead. As Aliu, on his return to the Houston Dynamo, he scored here from Linger and Andrade to give the Dynamo a 1-0 lead. And as I said, it's his first goal with the Dynamo. It's in his second stint as well. We'll see whether or not if his second stint will be a little bit better. I mean, his first stint was very underwhelming, but his second stint seems like it's got off to a bit of a good start in this one. And yeah, just like that, Houston were up 1-0 in this game. In the second half, or actually they would have this lead as we get into the second half with the Dynamo leading 1-0. In the second half, Morgan would miss wide from close in the 51st minute. Might then miss the wide on an outstretched leg, but I thought it was a much better start for San Diego. They definitely looked like a more confident team up to this point. Looked a little bit like the San Diego that we know from last season as they were pressing to try to get the equalizer. Aliu would then miss wide from close in the 68th minute before Linger was in on goal there, but he not only struck the post in this one, but he struck both posts. So yeah, double post moment here. Did recycle. Ponce did had a second effort, but he was deflected wide, and that just kind of sums up Linger's season so far this season. I mean, Andre Linger has been kind of snake bit this year, and when you get hit the double post like that, I mean, you're just getting absolute blue ball up to this point. But in the 79th minute, like I said, a San Diego game is not a San Diego game without a red card because in the 79th minute, Pellegrino would reinforce the red card FC kind of narrative because yeah, he basically put a high boot on Felipe there. Again, that the discipline level of the San Diego team, it has to be questioned. I understand that maybe some will say that's kind of the style that Mikey Veras likes to play, maybe a aggressive kind of style, but it's getting to a point where there's aggression, and then there's just too way too over aggressive and just loss of discipline started to show. And I really think the San Diego team has completely lost it when it comes to discipline. We shouldn't be seeing a team getting a red card every single game. And as much as we make fun by saying that they are red card FC this year, I mean that shouldn't happen in every single week. It is kind of mind-boggling that this is happening every single week, and that this is now the fifth game in the last six, if you include the CONCACAF Champions Cup, that they have a red card. This is now the sixth time that they got a red card this season. We're in April right now. I mean, that's absolutely insane to see that happen. I wouldn't even be surprised. They might end up with double-digit red card. And to think that I thought Montreal might be the team that might be red card FC because Montreal have a couple players that have red cards. And even though Montreal has had their fair share of red cards as well this season, it's nothing like the level that San Diego has had. I mean, this is just getting completely out of hand. But anyway, going back to this game itself, Ingvarsson was in on goal, but the goal was disallowed for offside on the development of play. Dreyer would then hits it right to Bond in the 90th minute, and despite being a man down, you gotta give credit to San Diego. They were still pressing hard to try to get the equalizer, but maybe that's a lot to do with the fact that yeah, it feels like for Houston, another team that's not doing well this season, there's definitely a lot of nervousness that yeah, they're gonna somehow find a way to blow this lead. And it makes it even tougher because in the 7 minute stoppage time, they themselves got a red card as well as Andre Linger. Yeah, this was a red card. When he kicked out on Pelcher, whenever you kicked out on an opponent, automatic red card. It's always violent conduct. So we have 10v10 soccer late in stoppage time. Farid almost did a Galvran here. So he came up here and he had a header similar to what we saw with Luca Galvran hit, but unfortunately his shot was blocked off the line. And then Herrera would try to hit the empty net there, as you usually see in hockey when they pull the goalie trying to hit the empty net, but Herrera wasn't able to do so. Just missed wide there, but it didn't matter because that was the final kick of this game. As in the end, the Houston Dynamo they survived. They get the 1-0 win in this one. The shots in this one, 11 shots for the 10. San Diego has 2 shots on goal for the 1 that San Diego has, 5 shots off target for the 4 that San Diego has, 4 shots off that was blocked for the 3 that Houston had, and possession-wise, 35% possession compared to the 65% possession that San Diego has in this game. So, like I said, for one, there was some competency that is being played in this one, but yeah, overall, if you're San Diego, I mean, first of all, they gotta stop getting red cards. That's the beginning of how they turn things around, and then second of all, they can't just keep giving the ball away so cheaply every single game like they have done this season. Though I will say this was actually one of the better defensive performances that they've shown. I mean, now it's started to see that when you have bad defense, now it can sometimes slowly get into your offense as well. And I think the attack is another thing that has to be questioned as well because you know, I feel like last season, one of the things I mentioned with San Diego, the fact that I feel like they were going to go for a regression because there was times where they got bailed out every single game because of them not playing relatively well, and Anders Schreier is able to do so. Safe to say, it's not happening more often than we have this season. I mean, Anders Schreier are still a good player for San Diego. He have shown that ability, but not as much as what we've seen this season. And as a result, I think to no one's surprise, the San Diego's team is suffering a regression, and they're suffering a regression hard right now. It's getting to almost St. Louis level of regression compared to what St. Louis did in the first year, and just completely regress to the mean in the second season and miss out on the playoffs. But that being said, moving on in terms of the next match, we then get to talk about Dallas and Minnesota. So yeah, this was another one of those games where for Minnesota they had a smash and grab victory. This felt like a very Eric Ramsey kind of performance from last season, where yeah they definitely went Rohit mode a bit. I was very nervous late in this game again because that's just kind of how the theme of this team is. They can't make it easy on themselves to get all 3 points, but ultimately they were still able to get it over the line because for Dallas, this was one of the few games where they just looked flat on the attack. This looked like Dallas of last season, especially in the beginning of last season, where they just looked flat going for on the attack end and had no idea how to break down and creating good chances against this Minnesota back line. I mean, to be fair, this Minnesota back line is very good, but still very strange to see Dallas just look off in on the attack in this one. First shot of the game did see counter tip Ibiaga header over before Yaboa would hit it high, as that was the Loon's first shot of the game. Dallas definitely had most of the possession. It feels like Minnesota once again revert back to old form of sitting deep and counter. Kalodi would then deny Yaboa from close before on the other end counter denied more as he pushed that one onto the post. And both of these teams definitely started to get some good chances. Question is, who can get the opener in this one? The answer is Minnesota. As Markanek, he loves scoring against Dallas. He did it last year as well at Toyota Stadium, and he does it again here. So yeah, that gives Minnesota a 1-0 lead. Unlike last season, it came off of a header of a long throw in, which is kind of something that was just such a key factor of why Minnesota was so good last season. This season we haven't seen a lot. In fact, I don't think this season they have even scored from a long throw, and that's how things have changed with this team, and how Cam Knowles his tactics is just completely different than what we see with Eric Ramsey, and this was actually one that Kololi actually denied him at first, but Marcanic was in the right place, right time to get his own rebound and puts it into the back net. So yeah, just like that, 1-0 in favor of Minnesota. Iragide did look to answer, but he missed wide there before Moore heads it wide from close in the 5th minute of stoppage time, and we do head to halftime with Minnesota leading 1-0. In the second half, Minnesota actually controlled most of the possession. So yeah, this was kind of the thing I was kind of interested to see, the fact that yes, they're up 1-0, but are they just gonna go row heave mo for the rest of the second half, especially in a game where they have played a lot of games. This I think is the fourth straight game where Cam Knowles decided to put the same starting 11. That's kind of surprising, and I'm a little concerned the fact that he's putting the same lineup every single week. I mean, I know that sounds crazy for me to say, especially with this team in the midst of the winning streak, and the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But it gets to a point where because of the fact that this team has played a lot of games in such a quick succession, you gotta at least have to rotate, and I'm hoping that might be a thing that he might do, and that this maybe in the long term, maybe even though with this win there is going to be some drawbacks. The fact that yeah, if you play your team every single week, you're basically running the team to the ground, and you just don't want to do that in the long term. But that being said, in the 62nd minute, Shankly had a shot that was deflected and goes right to Kolodi before he denied, or on the other end, counter denied Musa from close, but the flag went up there. So even if Musa buries this one, it wouldn't have counted. Notice I didn't mention Pedro Musa name a lot in this game. This was probably his worst game for Dallas this season. He was a non-factor in this one, and that's a lot of credit to this Loons back line. They absolutely shut him down throughout this game and frustrate him to a point where I think it's no wonder why this Dallas offense was completely flat in this one, because if Musa is not getting into good spot and scoring goals, yeah, this team is definitely in some trouble. It's also important to note that Farrington didn't play in this game until late in this one. He was a sub in this one, so maybe he desperately missed Farrington in this game. But there was no doubt that Dallas started to get most of the possession, and this is where, oh boy, Row Heathmo has begun, isn't it, for this Loons team? Marino would then puts it high from close. Romero would then puts it wide from long range, as the Loons were in full Row Heathmo up to this point, and fatigue started to become a factor of this team. I started to see the tired legs, and oh boy, I'm just thinking it's going to be a matter of time before Dallas gets the equalizer. Farrington would then hits one that was spilled by counter, but was not punished. The good news is, as much as they were kind of going with Rohifmo, they did something that I didn't see a lot under Eric Ramsey last season, which is they actually kept possession. And late in the last 10 minutes, they did start to keep more possession. Did kind of go a little negative by passing sideways, but honestly, I didn't mind either, because they just need possession. They can't just keep getting pounced by this Dallas team over and over again. They need to have possession to try to kill this game off, and they did that for a good spell of time. Delgado would then puts it high from long range before Farrington would puts it high as the flag went up. So that wouldn't have counted either way if Farrington puts it into the back of the net. But in the end, Minnesota get the 1-0 win in this one. It's now 4 straight win that Minnesota United has had this season. This is the first time they've won 4 straight since they did it in 2019, and that's the only time that they won four straight. They're trying to make it 5 straight this weekend against LAFC, which has never happened in franchise history. The shots in this one, 16 shots compared to just 5 that Minnesota has. Both teams had 3 shots on goal, 5 shots off target for the 1 that Minnesota has. 1 shot was blocked for the 7 that Dallas had, and possession-wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that Dallas had. And by the way, technically, you could say that this is also the first time in franchise history that they won 5 in a row, because if you count the Sacramento Republic Open Cup game, even though I know on record it's not going to count as a win because it ends in a 0-0 draw after 120, they still won the PK shootout. So in my book, it counts as a win. But like I said, just what I said a couple of days ago, the fact that 6-0 beatdown that they suffer, it feels like it's a blessing in disguise. Well, not only it's a blessing in disguise, but in many ways, it feels like it just completely woke up this team. And I will also say that, not only of that, I also feel like the tactics of Cam Knowles have changed dramatically ever since that 6-0 beatdown. It feels like they've been going with this free at the back system for the past couple of weeks, and it's been very successful. And even the midfield present with Triantis and Jin being the midfield engine, that has worked out to a treat. To a point where Will Trapp, who is usually the regular starter in that midfield, he can't even get a game right now, even him coming back from injuries, because that midfield partnership is just an absolute monster right now, and it's really the reason why this team has really limited the chances on their opposition and haven't conceded a lot of goals. Like they've only conceded 2 goals ever since they got absolutely blitzed by Vancouver in that one, and also not to mention Drake Counter is doing what Dane Sinclair did last season as well, making some key save. But this is a great win for this Minnesota team. I mean, it's not very often you shut down a Dallas team like this of pedigree, and now they have an even more tougher task playing in a couple of days, returning home to play against LAFC as well, another team that has a really deadly attack as well. But with that being said, now let's move on into the final game before I switch the board one more time. It's Columbus and the LA Galaxy. So I put this game relatively in the latter part because this game had a long weather delay. It didn't kick off until 9:45 p.m. So it was kind of right around the other game that started at 6:30 in these late West Coast game that is. Arsene was in on goal, but he hits it right to Marcinkowski. That came out of a bad turnover from the Galaxy as well, and they got away with one big time. Arsene would then curls it wide from close. Rossi would miss wide from close in the 16th minute. There was no doubt that Columbus definitely came out to play in this one in the weather delay. The Galaxy definitely feel like they were still in the locker room because yeah, this was a very bad start for the Galaxy. For a team that looked like they were in an upward swing, this looked like the Galaxy from the first couple of weeks of the season being one of the worst team in the West that is. Rossi would then fires it high from long range, and then he missed wide from close in the 30th minute. But then the 40th minute, the pressure that Columbus put finally paid off. As Daniel Gazdak would score from Picard and Chambos to make it 1-0 for Columbus, and the drought was definitely over for Daniel Gazdak. And he finally got some minutes in this one. It feels like he's been in the doghouse of Henrik Rudstrom, which is kind of surprising to see, though not surprising because he hasn't been great ever since he has come to Columbus. But this got to feel good for him to finally score a goal here to give Columbus a 1-0 lead. Peck did look to answer, but he hits it. Or he missed why as that was actually the Galaxy first shot. So yeah, not only the fact that the Galaxy did not start on time in this one, they didn't get their first shot until relatively late in the first half. But we do head to halftime with Columbus leading 1-0. In the second half, it would be 2-0 in favor of Columbus because Rossi would score from Arsene to make it 2-0 in favor of Columbus. Something tells me Rossi's going to have to carry a lot of the load on the attack because with the injury of Abu Ali, he's literally the only guy that can score goals week in and week out and has that threat to do so. Chambos then looked for another, but he was denied by Marcinkowski. Moreira would then miss wide from long range in the 57th minute. If you're a Columbus fan, you're thinking, who is this team? I mean, this doesn't feel like the Columbus that we saw this year. This looked like the Columbus that we saw in previous year, where it's hard to believe that it's taken until now that the Columbus crew has finally won for the first time. I mean, Lower.com feel, or at least now I think it's called Scott Miracle of Grass, whatever that new stadium is called now. For them to finally get their first win, that just kind of shows you the struggle that they have. And for once in this game, they started to look like the old Columbus team and the Nancy Columbus team that we've seen in the past. Pico would then cross it high from long range before Painso with a rare Galaxy chance, but he missed one in the 67th minute. But then the 86th minute, the Galaxy does make this interesting, as Gabriel Peck would score from Painso and Garces to make it 2-1 in this one. And then it would have been 2-2 if it wasn't for the post denying Peck from close range. So, yeah, the Galaxy, it's safe to say that they finally woke up. And if you're Columbus, oh boy, here we go again. Are we going to find some way to blow this late in this game, similar to what NYCFC did? Luckily, they did. They were able to hold on. It's the first win for Columbus at home this season. First home win for Henry Rostrom as well as they get the 2-1 win. The shots in this one, 14 shots for the 7 that the Galaxy had. 1 shots on goal for the 4 that Columbus had. 3 shots off target for the 8 that Columbus had. Both teams had 2 shots that was blocked and possession-wise. 54% possession compared to the 46% possession the Galaxy has in this game. And in the case of the Galaxy, it's pretty much 1 step forward and 2 step back for this team. It is hard to believe the fact that this team was playing relatively well. Looked like maybe they turned the corner, and then they put up this performance. I mean, this was a performance similar to what we saw in the beginning of the season, and it's got to be very disappointing to see that of course happened. Even if it's a, I know it was always going to be tough to travel in the middle of the week, especially after a long weather delay. The fact that they were a non-factor in this game for the most part, you got to be very disappointed if you're a Galaxy fan, especially against a team that hasn't won a single home game at all this season as well. But that being said, I am now going to switch board one more time to look at the last free game of this epic mega review that I'm doing in terms of these midweek action. All right, so here we go. Let's finish the last free game to finish up this mega review of these midweek actions. Starting off with RSL versus Inter Miami, and I gotta say, it looked like this one was gonna end 0-0, and that would be a rare thing to say because it is not very often when you see a full strength Miami side ends a game 0-0. Yes, I am aware that they drew 0-0 against Charlotte this season, and they sort of did that. Against Nashville as well in the first leg, but in league play, it is very rare that has happen. And to be fair, RSL, they play well in this one. They have their moments, but they fell into the classic trap of Inter Miami, which is you gotta bury your chances when you're up top because if you're not, Inter Miami has too much quality, and eventually they will punish you for not burying your chances. And that started off in the first half. 4 minutes in, Solon's missed wide despite having a wide open free header there, and with how hot Solon's is, you would have definitely bet your house that he would bury it, and you would have lost your house because that was a huge miss that he has. Dane Sinclair then denied Gulivogi, but then he spills this shot, and Salon was able to get her. He sets up Gulivogi, who puts it into the back net. Problem was, it didn't count in the end because Salons was in an offside position when he got that rebound, so the goal was disallowed for offside. But you got to say, Dane Sinclair might be the most relieved man that flag came up. And by the way, this was a rare clean sheet that Dane Sinclair would get at the end of the game. He has not had a lot of clean sheet with Inter Miami, and he has been very poor ever since he joined this team. And this was another example of it. Just a mistake there on his own end, giving up juicy rebounds, and he is very lucky. The fact that when Salons got that rebound, he was in an offside position. Cabral then denied Messi from close before Betarame hits it right to Cabral. We then we then had a couple of minutes where not much really happened. Though I thought Miami had really woke up and they were pressing for the opener. Betarame would then head it wide from close in the first minute of stoppage time, but we do head to halftime with the score scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Betarame would miss wide, despite the fact that he's wide open from 12 yards out. So yeah, Betarame definitely went back to his old form in the first couple of games before he broke his goal drought, where yeah, he was missing chances that you absolutely feel like a DP number 9 like him should finish. Gozo then puts it high from close. Dane Sinclair then denied Catranes, but once again he allowed a rebound, and he was very lucky he wasn't being punished. He was just allowing way too many rebound that RSL could have easily take advantage. And for Dane Sinclair, you can clearly see the Compton is not there from whatsoever. Gozo would then miss wide from close. RSL definitely has the momentum, but again, they have to put away these chances. Like the longer this stays 0-0, the more I feel like Miami is going to win it because they have some difference maker on the team that can just completely turn the game upside down. Solange would then hits it right to Dane Sinclair before Luna puts it high from the free kick. Messi would then miss high from long range in the 79th minute, but then in the 82nd minute, Rodrigo De Paul would score. He scored from Segovia to make it 1-0 in favor of Miami, and while it was a great goal from DePaul there, you kind of have to question the closing down there from RSL. And I know DePaul hasn't had a great start to his season, but he's still a guy that can score from long range, especially doing his Atletico Madrid days. And yeah, as a result, it's 1-0 in favor of Miami. And before we even had a chance to do all the goal that DePaul scored, Luis Suarez said, "Hold my beer because I can do one better," as he scored a golazo here from Betarame on the volley to make it 2-0 in favor of Inter Miami, and just vintage Suarez as well. Just another reminder that Suarez still got it, and it just kind of makes me wonder why does he not get more minutes. I mean, I don't expect him to be a regular starter, but he should at least get more minutes because he is still a huge difference maker for this Inter Miami team. Gozo then looked to respond, but he hits it right to Dane Sinclair. Messi would then hits it right to Cabral not long after, and then he denied Messi can close in the 87th minute. He then denied Messi again, this time on the free kick in the 90th minute. It's safe to say that some of the crowd inside the rise, they really want Messi to score here. The Messi chant did kind of rain down a bit. One thing I will say is that it was a majority RSL crowd. Yes, there were some Inter Miami fans in the crowd. I definitely see those pink jersey and those Argentine jersey that you usually see whenever Inter Miami play on the road and part of their traveling circus. But yeah, there was a lot of RSL fans. I saw a lot of Cobalt and Claret, and it's another example that yeah, this is a fan base that has a strong fan base, and they're gonna make sure that they're well in present. But yeah, you definitely see the Messi chant after because I'm pretty sure RSL fans were a little deflated that their team were down two nothing, and that will also be the final score of this game as Inter Miami gets the 2-0 win. As much as Messi wants to score, Cabral basically says no for now, and he would be saying no for the rest of the game. As the only downside, at least for those so-called Inter Miami road fans, is that they didn't see Messi score in this one. But the shots in this one, 19 shots for the 11 that RSL had, 4 shots on goal for the 7 that Miami has, 3 shots off target compared to 5 that RSL had, 8 shots on blocked for the 2 that RSL had in possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that RSL has in this game. And I will say that, for Inter Miami, I will give them credit the fact that they actually played well in this game. This was probably one of the better game that they play this season. Yes, they did give up some chances, which is kind of expected, but they also didn't give up as much as what we saw during their time against the Colorado Rapids, and at least didn't just completely capitulate like what we saw in the game against the Rapids as well. But for RSL, yeah, they just kind of fell into the classic trap that that a lot of team fell in when they play Inter Miami. When you don't take advantage of your chances, especially when it's been given, yeah, you're probably gonna end up on the losing end after this game, and that's exactly what it is. Case it's a rare loss for RSL as well. Their first loss that they suffer at home this season, and the first loss that they suffer since opening weekend against the Vancouver Whitecaps. So now moving on in terms of the next match, imagine I say an LAFC game turns out to be a boring game. I would have never thought that I would say that because LAFC games have always been pretty entertaining to watch, but unfortunately this was yeah, I mean this was a game basically, and a game that I think will be probably forgotten for relatively quick. Now in the first half, the Rapids was actually on the front foot, so I was thinking that with the way that the Rapids tends to like that to play that positional soccer, can they do it against LAFC? I kind of had a feeling they could because LAFC started to revert back to their old way of just maybe sitting back and look for the counter. Unfortunately, it wasn't really successful in this one. And they almost went down 1-0 LAFC as Lloris prevented an own goal with a full stretch save there, and it just feels like LAFC was on the rope. It just feels like something is not right with this LAFC team, and that's got to be concerned if you're an LAFC fan, considering yeah, in a couple of days and next week they got that huge showdown against Toluca, and if they play like this against Toluca, yeah, that could be bad. In the 22nd minute, Lloris would deny Navarro from close before he denies Sealy from close in the 25th minute. Colorado, they are pounding on the door. They are creating some golden chances, and now the question is, can they beat Lloris, who is really the only reason why this is still 0-0? If it wasn't for Lloris making some huge save, Colorado probably would have been up at least 1 or 2 nothing up to this point. But instead, we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, the post would deny Shrinier from long range before Bawanga missed wide from close in the 57th minute. Much better start for LAFC. They definitely look more like their old self and now trying to press to get the opener. Schaffelberg would miss wide from close before his shot was tipped over by Stefan in the 66th minute. Shrinier then missed wide from long range in the 67th minute. LAFC continued to pound on the door to get the opener, but the question is, can they finally put one in? Well, on the other end, Aronson would puts it high from long range in the 79th minute before Martinez would hits it right to Stefan. And yeah, in the end, neither of these sides was able to get the breakthrough as it ends in a 0-0 draw in this one. And as much as this was a week where there's a lot of shots in some of these games, this was a game that I mean, it feels like every single week where as much as we have some crazy games throughout, there's always tends to be these one games where yeah, let's just kind of forget about that. This was kind of the forgettable game. Only 5 shots for both of these teams. 1 shot on goal for the 2 that the Rapids had. Both teams had 3 shots that was blocked. 2 shots that was or 3 shots off target for both of these teams. I'm sorry, 2 shots that was blocked, but then none that LAFC had. And possession wise, this is something you usually don't see very often. 72% possession compared to just 28 that LAFC has. I mean, LAFC is at home in this game. The fact that they only had 28% possession, and again, I know that they try and revert back to the days of true Steve Cherundolo with them being a counter-attacking team. But this was kind of absurd to see them only have like 28% possession, and you could even say that the Rapids were the better team in this one. And it's not very often you say that the Colorado Rapids will maybe feel a little disappointed to only get a point out of this game against LAFC. Consider BMO Stadium has just been a house of horror for them. They still have yet to win at BMO Stadium against LAFC, and they will be very disappointed they haven't because they were the better team in this one. And again, if you're LAFC, I mean, there's got to be some concern, you got to say, with this team. I don't know if it's because of the fatigue level. I guess maybe that is the case because they play so many games in such a short amount of period, which is why I feel like this weekend, when they play against Minnesota, I will not be surprised if LAFC just decided to put it in their reserve and punt the game away. I do think they need they need some rest. Like this team just it team just doesn't look like their old self in this one. I mean, Bawanga and Sung, both of these guys. Notice I didn't mention their name very often. I didn't even mention Sung Hyun-min in this game as well. He just have not looked like his old self in this season. It's been a struggle for him this season. Haven't scored a goal so far in MLS play. Yes, he have got a lot of assists, but yeah, eventually he's got to contribute in the goal scoring department as well. So as I said, for LAFC, I think big part of that is because of the fact that it feels like this team is tired, and this is why like it would be a fool of a decision for Marc Dos Santos to decide to put in the same starting 11. I think there is going to be some resting that needs to be made. Especially it's not only it's going to be a short week, but it's an early kickoff as well in Minnesota as well, and them being on the road. So in many ways, I said about Minnesota having a tough task against LAFC over the weekend. They may get lucky the fact that they might be getting the same treatment that the Portland Timbers had against LAFC, which is an LAFC team that basically put in their reserve. I feel like it's going to be the same case against Minnesota. This team desperately needs some much needed rest because if they don't, they play against Toluca and they look like this. They might get blown apart by a Toluca team that is, as I mentioned, they are definitely the favorites right now to win the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Well, that being said, moving on into the last game of this mega review and the game I went to, and I had to kind of leave a couple of details out because I was actually running out of space in terms of putting in notes. I wrote a lot of notes in this game because there was a lot that happened in this game. Well, more from the Austin defensive end. I mean, this game in many ways kind of feel like it's a combination of the Sporting KC and Seattle game that the Quakes play, where this I said that this was kind of a trap game for the Quakes because after that big win that they had against LAFC, how would they respond and not have such a letdown against Austin? And it looked like early on they kind of fell into the trap of giving up the early goal. And I say it's like the Seattle game because they had a ton of chance. Actually, to say they have a ton of chance is an understatement. Just look at what I wrote in terms of the stats category and just kind of shows you the fact that yeah, if it wasn't for that onslaught um barrage late in this game, and the fact that Stuver was trying his best to steal one for Austin, this could have been easily 8, 9, or 10-1 in favor of the San Jose Earthquakes. Now, in the first half, Shakiris with the game's first shot, but his shot was deflected. But then on the first shot for Austin, it's in the back of the net as former Loons player Josef Rosales would score here. I think this is his second goal for Austin. I remember he scored one earlier in the Los Verdes. But yeah, this was a gift from the Quakes. A rare bad turnover there from the Quakes, giving the ball away, playing a blind pass at the back that was taken away by Rosales. And I also thought that was one that Daniel probably should have done better. I mean, he did get a hand to it, couldn't keep this out, and just like that, Austin were leading 1-0 up to this game, and I'm just thinking, yeah, are the Quakes about to fall into this classic trap of playing down to competition in this one. Werner did look to respond, but he was denied by Stuvert in the near post, and then he denied Werner again in the near post in the 14th minute. Good response, I thought, for the Quakes. They were now pushing to try to get the equalizer, though Torres was in on goal here, but he was absolutely robbed by Danielle. Though Danielle actually kind of spilled this one, and he just about punched that one away before Torres was able to get the rebound and put it into the back net. That was a huge moment in this game because have this been 2-0 in favor Austin, I don't know if the Quakes probably would have come back from this one. Yes, they have shown some good character so far this season, but a 2-0 lead, especially with me thinking like they're definitely having a huge let off after that massive win against LAFC. See, is I definitely had my doubts in terms of them coming back, and the same goes for Daniel as well. He just have not been sharp in this game whatsoever. He's been very sharp throughout this season, but here he just have been very lackluster and was probably very lucky the fact that it's not nothing up to this point for Austin. LaRue would then puts it wide from long range in the 30th minute before he was denied by Stuver, but it was recycled. Judd had a chance to put it in, but he puts it high from long range. The shots were 9-4 for the Quakes up to this point, and it would balloon in a big way for the rest of the game as well as they continue to press for the equalizer. Jacaris then is an absolute sitter from 10 yards out. That is one you do not see very often for Nico Jacaris. In fact, I also thought this was a kind of an off game for Nico Jacaris. Probably one of the worst game he played this season, and that's saying something because he still got an assist in this one, but he just looked off in this one. And again, maybe a lot of that has to do with the letdown that this team has had. Maybe that's kind of the reason why even some of the better players that has contributed this dream season that the Quakes have had are just kind of a step off in this one. Vieira would then had a shot that was deflected and goes wide. By the way, Biro had to be subbed off in this one. Not quite sure exactly what was the injury, but yeah, that is a huge blow for this Austin team. Austin has already have some big injuries that they have to deal with. Both Pereira and Wolf did not play in this one. I don't think if both of those players play in this one, it would have made a huge difference because yeah, as we'll see this Austin defense was pretty much non-existent in this one, and Stuver was just doing a carry job. He was just standing on his head most part of this game. He would deny Vieira from close in the 4th minute starch time after Vieira had a shot that was deflected and goes wide. Jacaris then missed another sitter from close in the 6th minute starch time. That's when I kind of feel like, yeah, Jacaris, he's just going to be snake bitten in this game, isn't it? But we do head to halftime with Austin leading 1-0 in the second half. By the way, that them losing 1-0. I think this is only the second time that the Quakes have trailed heading into the second half. The only time was when they played against Seattle. They lost that game against the Sounders. It's the only loss that they suffered this season as well. Stuver would then deny Jacaris on the header. The Quakes kind of picked up where they left off, but so is Stuver. He kind of picked up where he left off, which is continue to stand on his heads and trying to steal this one for Austin. He then denied Werner from close, and then the post would deny Jasinski from close in the 58th minute. And I'm just thinking, yep, this feels like it's the Seattle game all over again, isn't it? The Quakes, they just simply can't buy a goal. However, as soon as I wrote that, they did get a goal, and it's Jack Jasinski scoring his first career MLS goal on his debut as well. This is the thing about Bruce Arena, San Jose Earthquakes side. He is not afraid to give some of his youngster and some of the super draft pick a chance. And here, Jack Jasinski, he impressed during his U.S. Open Cup Quakes debut against Phoenix Rising. I believe he also scored a goal in that game as well. And here, what a big moment for him as well, scoring a goal on his debut from Jacaris. It also came off of a set piece as well, which, yeah. I mean, if all things fail, you might as well just rely on Austin in terms of defending set pieces because, yeah, let's just say that they have had their issue this season defending set pieces, and it's happened again here. The post would then deny LaRue from long range. Jacaris then puts one into the stands in the 61st minute. The Quakes continue to pound on the door, but now the question is, can they score an open play? It's good that they, of course, capitalize on Austin's biggest weakness on the set piece, but they got to score a goal eventually from open play. Jasinski would then puts one right to Stuver before Ramirez would head one wide into the side netting as on a rare opportunity for Los Verdes. Werner would then puts it high from the free kick before Stuver would deny Judd from close range in the 75th minute. Austin was in Rohif mode up to this point. You can clearly see they are just reeling. It was wave after wave of pressure that the Quakes were putting to try to get that second goal. And you know what I say whenever I mention Rohif mode? Yeah, it doesn't usually bowl well. It doesn't usually work well, even if this is not in Minnesota K's. And guess what? That pressure finally put a toll on this Austin team because in the 77th minute, a penalty was given to the Quakes. Dubasevsky brought down Buda in the box. So here comes Timo Werner, a chance to give the lead for the Quakes, and he makes no mistake here. 2-1 is the score, and little did we know this is when the dam broke for Austin, because just 5 minutes later, Preston Judd would score for Murray and Werner to make it 3-1 in favor of the Quakes. This was just champagne soccer from the San Jose Earthquakes. I've seen this so many times this season. It just kind of is the reason why this has just been a dream season for the Quakes. I mean, I don't usually see the Quakes play this kind of brand of soccer. So the fact that when Werner put that on a dime to Murray, and then Murray pretty much put a one timer right into to Judd on the cross. I mean, I was kind of left in stun. Like, holy crap, that's some Real Madrid level kind of soccer that I'm seeing from the San Jose Earthquakes. And before I had even had a chance to marvel how great that goal is, Usuni Buddha would make it 4-1 in this one because Jean Bell decided that, yeah, I'm just gonna get beat by Buddha. I'm not even gonna defend here. I'm just gonna let him go through in on goal, and in a span of just 7 minutes, it's 4-1 in favor of the San Jose Earthquakes. The floodgates have just completely blown open, and it could have been 5-1 just 2 minutes later when Murray looked to make it 5, but just missed that one wide. Probably should have been 5-1 up to this point, but eventually it was 5-1 because Preston Judd would score for the second time tonight from Paul Marie to make it 5-1 in favor of the San Jose Earthquakes. Yeah, I mean, to say that Austin have just completely quit up to this point is an understatement. The floodgates have finally blown open. 4 goals in a span of just 11 minutes from the San Jose Earthquakes. It's been a long time I've seen that kind of onslaught and that kind of blitz from this team. This is kind of a stuff that, going back all the way back to 2017 when I we're still doing Quakes Flock. This was kind of the stuff that kind of always goes against the Quakes, because I remember when Chris Leach was coaching this team, it feels like every single game after they conceded that second goal late in the game, they just completely capitulated. So to see the fact that now they're on the other end of this, I mean, I guess this is how it feels. To be on the other end of a team just getting absolutely put the sword to the throat of the opponent by scoring bunches in the latter part of this game. And to make things even worse and kind of also baffling as well, we get 14 minutes of stoppage time. So I was actually sitting there where the fourth official is, just a little up the road. I did hear like some discussion. I don't know what they said, but whatever they say, I mean, I don't know why they decided to put 14 minutes of stoppage. I mean, I get it. Yes, there were the goals and also the penalty that delayed the start, and then there were a couple of stoppage early in the second half. But 14 minutes is absurd. I mean, that's especially for a game that's already 5-1. There was no need to make it 14 minutes start stop. I mean, it doesn't really help either team as well because, for Austin, that feels like cruel and unusual punishment to hear 14 minutes of stoppage time after you just conceded 4 in the span of 11 minutes. And it also doesn't help the Quakes as well because, I mean, there's really no need for them to play this stoppage time when they there are definitely that concern of fatigue with the way that it is a midweek game, and also the fact that you just worry that there might be some injury. They might suffer an injury during this stoppage time as well. So that was just very bizarre to see 14 minutes of stoppage time as well, and I was kind of a little bit infuriating by that. But nevertheless, in the 14-minute stoppage time, there were a couple of chances. Stewart with denying Gonzalez from close. The goalie chant was definitely out. It was the stadium kind of emptied out a bit because with this being 5-1, there's really no need to stick around. You might as well just beat the traffic. But whoever was still left at the stadium, which I was one of them, yeah, the Ole chant was definitely ringing. That's when the ultra humiliation has begun when you hear the Ole chant happen. Usually it happens in Liga MX game. Doesn't happen as much in MLS game, which I'm kind of surprised. But yeah, I mean for Austin FC. Boy, that escalated quickly in the words of Ron Burgundy because they went from being 1-0 up for majority of the game and end up giving up 5 unanswered goals, including 4 in the span of the last 11 minutes before we head to that insane 14 minutes stoppage time. Lose 5-1 in this one. Shots in this one, 37 shots compared to 6 that Austin had. 37. Last time I've seen the Quakes have that many shot in the game was a couple of years when I went to watch them play against the Vancouver Whitecaps. I remember that was the Maxine Crepeau record breaking game because the Quakes put up 43 shots in that game and Crepeau saved like like 14 save in this one, which was a record in MLS for the most save in a single game, and I believe that's still the record to this day. 16 shots on goal. 16. Brad Stuver had 11 save in this one, and yet he still gave up 5 goals in this one, compared to just 2 that Austin had. 1 shots off target, but then 9 that the Quakes had. 9 shots that was blocked for the 3 that Austin had, and possession-wise, 64% possession compared to 36% possession that Austin has in this one. And I also didn't have enough room to put the XG as well. I probably should have also put the XG. The XG for the Quakes was 6.6. 6.6 in terms of expected goal. So not only the fact that they score 5 in this one, but the fact that they still underperformed their XG and by more than a goal and a half, this shows you the fact that this was a no mercy game for the San Jose Earthquakes. I mean, they were showing no mercy whatsoever. This was an extermination kind of game by the Quakes to put Austin absolutely to the store as well. And if you're Austin, I mean, I gotta say, all these players, they not only demand a huge apology to Brad Stuver, but they probably need to give him a gift basket and maybe even buy him a lunch or dinner for the next week after this, because I really felt bad for Brad Stuver. As much as I was enjoying that the Quakes were putting the onslaught late in this one, I really felt bad for Brad Stuver because he did everything in this game. Have he not been in goal in this one and putting the performance that he had, this could have easily been double digit for the San Jose Earthquakes. The Quakes would have easily broke the record for the most goal in a single game. That's how bad this game got for this Austin team, who, as I said, they are heading the wrong direction right now. This looks like things have gone so dire that, now there's even question of Nico Estevez job as well, which I'm not surprised the fact that Nico Estevez is under fire for this, because I don't think that was always a good hiring in the first place. So to no one's surprise, yeah, it feels like it hasn't worked out so far. And yeah, for Austin, they need to look in the mirror of themselves. They're hoping they can do something similar to what Minnesota did. Where, remember when Minnesota got destroyed 6-0 to Vancouver, and little do we know that that was the turning point for them, because everything after that they went on a 6-game unbeaten streak. Austin is just hoping that that is the case, because my word, this was insane. Like, late in this game when I saw all those goals were coming, I couldn't believe it. Like, this, as great as this season has been for the San Jose Earthquakes, who is now 8-1, and they're the first team to reach that mark in the post shootout era since 2000 as well. It is crazy to see how Austin just completely flat out quit in this one. And yeah, this team has some big soul searching that needs to be done in their next game as well. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of all of these games. As always, let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this chaotic midweek action that we seen. I mean, yeah, I mean, this was just a goal for a less kind of midweek. We'll see whether or not if that might continue over the weekend as well. I mean, I'm sure it will, because the first game of this weekend involving Toronto FC. So yeah, you gotta make sure you stick around in terms of that. I mean, I know it's a 10 a.m. game, which, for some people on the West Coast, it's not to wake up on a weekend to watch a TFC team play. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that game have some firework as well, because that's how TFC game has been, and that's just kind of how midweek games sometime is, where chaos is the name of the game, and if you want entertainment and you want tons of goals and no defense being played, tune into these midweek games, because that's where it usually is found. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.